Researchers have found what they're calling a mortality timer within the genome of an organism, something that once it reaches a critical state, the organism will start to rapidly deteriorate. And it's present in us too. More interestingly, it can be stopped. Let's talk about it. Fair warning, this is pretty complicated. What you see behind me are fluorescent images of the nucleolus. That is part of your cell where ribosomes, the kinds of molecular machines that produce proteins, are made. As you get older, the center becomes larger. As this area becomes larger and potentially more active, it results in catastrophic genomic instability, which ultimately results in aging. It seems that the large nucleolus results in ribosomal RNA, so the stuff that makes those molecular machines, becoming unstable. Artificially reducing the size with edited genes actually increases lifespan. There's a lot of theories, but no one's entirely sure why. It gets weird. It gets weird over time. Now, that paper was done in yeast, but we have seen that similar issues with enlarged nucleoluses causes rapid aging in humans in the case of things like Werner syndrome. However, we have seen multiple papers targeting different parts of aging that results in longer lifespans. In the beginning, one of the first things we discovered were telomeres, and I think people thought that telomeres were more important than they were. We do know that when you make gametes, so your reproductive cells, telomerase is active, and it lengthens the stable ends of their chromosomes, so your children aren't always going to be older than you are. But there's a whole lot of remodeling and different genes that are active when we make new people. We know that with cloning induced pluripotent stem cells, we can activate some of those processes that will result in a clone that's not going to be the age of the person it came from. What humanity is trying to do now is figure out how to activate those genes in an adult person, some of which can reverse signs of aging and make tissue appear younger. Not just to the eye, but physically younger. There's many different things that have been considered, like reducing how much food one eats can lengthen a lifespan to a degree. You're going to be in trouble if you have osteoporosis or heart muscle starts consuming itself. One thing I do ask people to look at is to look at living fossils. So these are organisms that have not changed very much over the course of evolutionary time. What we see in a lot of these organisms is good DNA repair. So having those mutations allows you to have offspring which are better adapted to a new environment. If you don't have mutations, you'll look much the same millions of years later. There's been a big conversation about why that might be, and some of the earlier theories before we really understood how DNA works is that they live in stable environments. Both of those are probably true. DNA repair, yes, we found those mechanisms, but if you have offspring that are not going to be adapted to a rapidly changing environment, you're probably also only going to do well in an environment that isn't rapidly changing, like the tropics or deep sea ocean. Yes, there are near immortal trees out there, too. Ultimately, I think we could extend our lifetimes into hundreds of years. Maybe not thousands, maybe thousands one day, but I think that extending it hundreds is very closely accessible to scientific progress as we know it today. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to be available to me or you, or me if I decide to do it in my basement. I'm not going to do that. For any three-letter organizations listening, that was a joke.